Hey guys, welcome back to the Firearms and Fellowship Podcast. I'm happy to have my good friend George McAllister on tonight. We are going to discuss LC Smith. George has one in his shop that he's working on, and we're going to take some look at some of the pictures of what he's working on and kind of talk about LCs because they're an interesting shotgun. George, it's so good to have you on.
It's good to be here, Jeremy. I appreciate it. Yeah, this is. I'm not much of an LC guy, but I'd like to talk about this one a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. They're an interesting shotgun. I didn't know a lot about them until recently. Really, I my father-in-law had left one, and it sat in the back of one of my safes for a couple years before I ever even really looked at it. I'm not a big shotgun guy, but I did get it out one day and started looking at it, and man, what a beautiful piece. And then I watched a video by Mark Novak, and if you ever want to get a real appreciation for LC Smiths, go watch him take one apart and look at the internals on these things. It is absolutely incredible how well built they are, and not so well built. And we'll get into that in a minute.
Yeah.
But I wanted to pop up some pictures here just so everybody can kind of get a look at an LC. This is one that I have. Let me see if I here we go. Beautiful engravings. Now this is they had several different grades. I think it was a field ideal, and I can't remember what the next one was.
Yeah, I don't know. I know the
Yeah,
one I'm working on is a field grade gun.
field grade, and this one here is an ideal. You know, beautiful engraving and checkering.
Yeah.
And these were called side locks.
Yeah.
I'm not a big shotgun guy, so George, maybe you can talk a little bit about what that is. Um, I know the hammers used to be kind of centered
Yeah.
toward the back, and on this one they're internal.
That's right.
I think you said the one that you're working on that we're going to look at in a minute is external hammers, correct?
It is. It's a yeah, it's a hammer gun. It's a Damascus barrel hammer gun, but I think it's around 1900, 1901, best I could determine, which kind of surprised me a little bit that they were still making Damascus hammer guns that late. I think they were making a gun like yours at the same time.
Oh,
I guess
really?
I think so. If what I read is right, and
That may
but they
be.
are they bank vault strong inside, man.
Oh yeah, yeah. The some of the springs inside of these things are, golly. I mean, at least a quarter inch thick. They're just
I'm telling you, you take out the wrong screw and
yeah,
relax a spring, and then have to go put it back. You'll believe that too. It's just about impossible.
yeah. It's crazy. Like I say, go watch Mark Novak's video on LC
Yeah, it's
Smith.
really good. Really good.
Yeah, and
And
this one here, you can see there's some ejectors.
yeah,
That was an option on these, as well as you could get a. This one has the double triggers. They had a single trigger
yeah.
model, and there was a name brand for the trigger. I just don't recall right now. Um,
Isn't
but
that
yeah,
great?
just beautiful,
Yeah,
beautiful guns.
yeah,
Now, what I learned, and you'll see this when you take one apart, which I never would. Um, there's not a lot of meat holding that action in there.
that's right.
And I think we'll see that in the pictures that you
You
have
will.
up. Um, you know, very thin around there, and also thin through the wrist.
Yeah,
You'll see them a lot cracked up by the action, or the wood will start giving way up there, and you'll see them with cracked wrists a lot. Yeah,
Isn't that nice? You are very fortunate.
it's a beautiful shotgun. It really deserves to be with somebody who collects these and has probably a greater appreciation and affinity for these types of shotguns. Uh,
Don't tempt me, because the more I work on this one, the better I'm liking them.
well, I may be dangling a carrot out there,
You
George.
think? You think?
Now another thing is these will the rib, I guess you'd call it, will
Yeah,
start to delaminate and
it will.
um, but yeah, this one doesn't have any of those problems.
No, it
But
looks like it's been well cared for. It's not beat up or anything.
yeah, thank you to my beautiful producer wife for taking some pictures for me today.
Good for her. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, nice cut checkering there. And Hunter Arms Company
Yeah,
Incorporated. What was that? Myers Fulton?
yeah,
Okay.
full. Yeah,
Yeah, Fulton, New York, USA. LC Smith, ideal grade. So now mine here, it has been cut down and had a pad put on it. This pad is period for the time, and you're just going to see that on some of these shotguns. That's what people did.
you did. Yeah, if you get real lucky, sometimes they just took the butt plate off and put a pad on it, but usually they cut them.
Yeah, yeah, to keep the length of pull at
Right.
where it should be. Now I looked up the manufacturing date on this. I didn't have time today to go dig that up, but
It's
if
kind of complicated.
yes, it is. It is very complicated. They used serial numbers several times. You gotta do some sleuthing to figure out when these are made. So if somebody has some time to do that, put it down in the comments. I've
Yeah.
got it around here somewhere. I just don't remember where I put it.
Oh, somebody's going to know.
Oh, for sure, for sure. All right, let me get over here and close this down so I can get your pictures back over here. So tell me how you got this shotgun and why you're fixing it up and what's the backstory behind that.
It's a great story, and I don't think it's that dissimilar to maybe a lot of people's story. This gun belongs to a good friend of mine. The gun was his grandfather's gun, and he remembers the gun being in their house when he was a kid growing up. Uh, After his dad died, the gun got away from him some kind of way. He ended up with an uncle in another state, and I think he passed away, and the gun went to his son. It's changed hands a number of times, but here within the last year or so, my buddy saw his cousin, and his cousin told him, "I have that shotgun. Would you like to have it back?" And he said, "Certainly, I'd like to have it back." So he got the gun back. Over about 40 some odd years, or maybe longer, that gun made full circle and came back to him. So he was happy. But the stock was broken, or not broken in two, but badly broken. And he said he remembers it being somewhat broken when he was a kid. So he asked, could I do anything with it? And I said, well, I'd love to try to do something with it. So that's what we're doing. And I was doing that today, Jeremy, and the thoughts crossed my mind that it's a blessing. I think it's a blessing when somebody will ask you and have enough confidence in you to let you do something with something like that. So you certainly couldn't make any money doing it, because I got a lot of hours in that gun, but I'm loving every minute of it. And in keeping with your firearms and fellowship thing, the thoughts were on my mind this morning about if you have some abilities or some talents or whatever it is, you should share them. You should share them with people as much as you possibly can. And it doesn't matter. My wife's making jelly tonight. I'm sure we're going to give some of that jelly away. We can't eat that much jelly. So if it's a recipe, it's if you can preserve a memory or something, it's you're kind of obligated to do that. Just be thankful you can do it, and pass that on forward. Preserve that memory, preserve that history if you can, and share what you fellows.
Absolutely. You and I, we both love the garden, and we're always talking about our tomatoes, and I love eating fresh tomatoes and making salsa and all that fun stuff. But man, I love to give them away too, because it makes people so happy. I was down at the feed store the other day, and gal that owns the place, she doesn't have time to put in a garden, and so I take her some tomatoes, and she just gives me a big old hug, and she's so happy. And that's better than eating them sometimes,
It is.
Give somebody else the joy of it.
Well, I get a lot. We don't have a big garden, but we grow far more tomatoes than we can possibly eat, and peppers and stuff like that. And I enjoy watching it grow, watching it come about, and giving it away. Yeah, sharing it. Yeah. We talked earlier. Folks are going to laugh at us, but I think Jeremy and I both are going to turn into a bacon and tomato sandwich within about a week. I've probably eaten 1,000 of them in the last month.
Let me tell you, brother, I can barely hard to stomach store-bought tomato anymore. So when they're out there on the vine, buddy, I'm going to eat as many as I can.
We're having them every meal. So it's a great deal. It's a good deal.
True. Let me pull up these pictures you sent me. I think it's going to kind of blow some people away. Just what can happen to these Elsies.
Yeah.
And I don't even want to shoot mine, to be honest, because I don't want it to crack and break and something bad happen to it before.
We've talked about that before with the guns that we collect, antiques and all. I guess there's two schools on that. Some guys wouldn't own them if they can't shoot them, and some guys wouldn't shoot them under any conditions. And I'm in that camp. Some of these antique guns we have can't be repaired if you break them. So, go buy you a replica and shoot it. But man, I just can't pull the trigger on an antique gun.
Yeah, and we've talked about that. I'm kind of in the other camp. I like to have guns that I can shoot, and if it's something like this LC, like I say, it deserves to be with somebody that will appreciate it, and it give me a little money to go buy something I can shoot. So let's see, we got here we go. Woo-wee. Look at that.
Well, you can see what happened. That whole bottom piece broke out of that gun, and there's forward of where that thing swoops up and forward of that going up there's almost nothing supporting that wood underneath. So that gun got dropped somewhere, and that whole piece was broken out and missing. So we're trying to make a piece to fit that, but the top piece, you can see where I pinned it and put it back, and still see where it's split. But we'll get all that filled, hopefully, and sanded and looking pretty good and stained back to match the rest of the gun. But that started off with a great big chunk of wood stuck in there, and slowly carving it away. But it's delicate. It's not going to be anything but a wall hanger. Certainly not going to be a shooter, and it's always going to have to be handled pretty gingerly. It could break again, but I hope it looks good on his wall.
Like you say, you could never make a living doing this.
No, you can't.
Too much time and effort put into just making it look good. And then trying to make one to be able to shoot after it's like this, I don't think it's even possible.
No, and I wish I had a better picture of what it looks like internally, because there's some paper thin stuff in there, and there's just not much in there to support that thing. But it's so far I'm pretty happy with that. It's coming along. Yeah. It's going to look. I think it's going to look nice. I hope it does. I want them to be happy with it.
Those shotguns were kind of they had to be the sum of all parts.
Yeah.
When they were together and new and tight, it gave it enough strength to hold together. But once that wood starts drawing back and they get dropped and you get a little bit of wiggle in there, then that's when you're going to start running into that kind of issue. So what are we looking at right here?
That's the bottom. That's where the trigger mechanism will fit in between those two sides into that slot. So that's looking straight down. The trigger mechanism all goes in there.
Okay.
And I think I've gotten that width just about right. I did a dry fit on it about an hour ago, and I need to take out a little bit of wood, but it's pretty close. But I don't want it to be tight. I want it to. There's going to be a little bit of a crack, but I would rather have that than it be tight and eventually cause a problem. And it'll look fine. It'll be fine. But yeah, that's the bottom side of that piece of wood we were looking at earlier.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I see that now.
Yeah. And that's the top, and you can see how that's all been pinned and screwed and glued and all together. Now I'm filling that crack now, and and that little hole and all that, and then the top and the barrel release, open and release will go in there, and it be screwed down and all. But you can see how the holes are walled out. So that piece fell out, and I was able to put it back. It's kind of touch and go. I work on it for a while, and I have to get up and walk away, because if I stay with it, I'll either sand too much or something.
Yeah.
I get impatient, and I want it to be finished, and it's not going to be fast. So just get up and walk away from it. Come back tomorrow.
Yeah, sometimes that's what you have to do.
Yeah, well, I'm not good at that.
Normally a gun like that would probably be parted out and sold it in pieces. But it's neat that you guys are going to put it back together and keep it in his family. That's cool how, sometimes guns like that, they come back home.
Yeah, and I think it's wonderful when it does. He'll pass that down to one of his boys, I hope, and it'll be a good deal. Like I said earlier, and I really believe this, it's a blessing to be able to do that and to share with other folks, and so we'll see how much how good we can make that look. But I'm pretty pleased with that right now. It's coming along nicely.
I just want to give people another look at kind of what we were seeing here. So there's that side piece, and then we're looking up from underneath.
Yeah.
That new piece is on the right. Well, George, I'm going to be really interested to see it when it's finished. You'll have to come back on.
We will share it. I guess I should have put them, but I've cleaned up the barrels, got all the rust and all is off of the barrels. The bore is about what you'd expect, but it's as clean as it can be, and it looks pretty good. But externally, the Damascus looks pretty good. It's not all beat up, really. The metal is pretty nice. It's clean. Well, you can see up above that, you can see a piece of it laying up there, and it's clean. It's going to look good.
Those Damascus barrels, lead shot only, right?
Yeah. And I've heard some guys say you can shoot them. I wouldn't shoot them.
Yeah. I don't think I would either.
I think they're beautiful. I think they're pretty good. Damascus is pretty.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing. We're trying to save an old family gun for some friends, and so I'm happy. I'm happy to do it. And I'm learning a little something too, so that's a little bonus.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, well, I'm learning at his expense, so when I get ready to do something of my own, I'll be able to do mine better.
That's cool. That's a cool deal. Man, thanks for bringing that on and letting us take a look at it. When you
well, thank you. Thank
you. Me earlier and told me what you were working on. I definitely wanted to get it on here because I know you'll probably have it finished tomorrow, so I wanted to see it in progress.
And it's well, I'll get some more pictures. We'll kind of follow it along. But yeah, the thought crossed my mind this morning about just being thankful that you can do something and sharing your blessings with others, and so maybe it becomes a blessing for them too. And that's about what it's all about, I think.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, buddy, thank you so much for coming on. I gotta run. I got another one starting here in just a little bit, but we're gonna have you on real soon for a RSA podcast or Remington Society podcast. I think you're gonna talk about prenatal revolver, so we'll be looking forward to that.
We may talk about a lot of revolvers before. So.
Yeah. Well, you know me, I'll listen all day long until the cows come home.
Well, I appreciate you what you're doing. The Remington Society certainly appreciates it. It's we're all also are already seeing a little uptick in membership and all that. And we're attributing that to you and the podcast and the Facebook page and the YouTube page. So fantastic. Yeah, it's a good deal. We really appreciate it and appreciate all the folks who watched it. We hope you enjoy this and see this. If you got something, if you can tell us something about L.C. Smiths, we'd be happy to hear it.
Yes. I'll tell you, I've gotten lots of good feedback and comments about the podcast we've done together so far. So really excited about the things we got lined up for the future. So it's going to be fun. I appreciate it, buddy.
Appreciate it. Y'all have a good evening. Have a good week. Hope to see you folks again soon. Thank you, Jeremy.
Hey, tell the missus I said hi. And
I'll do. You do the same.
God bless, brother.
You too, pal. Thank you, buddy.